Hello, kids and cadets. Welcome back to Pop Culture Addicts. I am Tim. I am your host, and this is your reminder that you are watching and or listening to a show that is made by this nerd for all you nerds. So I'm glad that you could join us today. Now, our guest today is kind of special. Today is the first time that I'm interviewing someone from my little West Michigan town. He also graduated from the same high school I went to. His dad was a counselor at the school I went to. So this is kind of a whole weird thing. We kind of met through Facebook. We had similar friends. I reached out to him and he said yes. And then he didn't think it was weird when I was like, hi, I'm from Newaygo. Want to be on my show? He was really cool about it. So I'm very excited about that. But you will find his work on shows as a writer and a producer like Eva the Owlet. There's Monster Ball, Homecoming, Rainbowcorns, Noggin Knows Better. And there's a whole lot of other kids shows that our guest today has worked on and has done some amazing stuff with. You'll be able to find the rest of his work on IMDb, and we'll provide a link down in the show notes down below for you guys to be able to check that out. So in our chat tonight, we're going to talk about his origin story, his writing process, what it was like for him growing up in West Michigan in our tiny little town of Newaygo. And we're going to talk about a few other things. We're going to have a lot of fun. I am very excited to welcome fellow Newaygoite Dave Cain to Pop Culture Addicts. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is so wild. We are from just the tiniest little speck of a town, you know?
Yeah.
And so the fact that I even forgot, you would have had my dad as a guidance counselor in middle
school and high school.
Oh, he was doing middle school and high school at that point. Okay,
yeah.
I
had him both, and he was doing some. I can't remember what other class he taught in middle school, but he was a guidance counselor and he was doing something else. Maybe it was a health class or health education or something like that.
So
yeah, I had him for that too.
You had him for that too. So what we're talking about here is like your changing body. Like I
think so.
The sex ed class.
I think so, yeah.
Which my dad had to teach even the year I took that class, which was devastating. Absolutely devastating.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And here's the thing too, is like talking to him about it like as an adult, he's like he's a very kind man who does not want to talk about any of those things. And so at the start of every year, he would be like, come on, guys, will somebody please do the puberty class? I don't want to do it. And no one would do it. Every single year he got stuck with it because he's just too nice. He's too nice.
Yeah, he's one of the kindest men I think I've ever met in my life, but it's just but that is very, very funny. And I can see him being just mortified about that,
So. I didn't know, you don't think about that when you're a kid, but then when you're an adult, you realize, I would be mortified too. I would, especially, I just sat in the back of the classroom being like, oh my God.
That's my dad.
Yeah.
God, Dad.
And he was doing the same. Yeah,
he was dying a slow death up in front of everybody for sure.
Oh man.
That's great. All right, so Dave, one of the first questions I love to ask any of our guests, and I'm especially curious for your answer here because obviously with some similar upbringings, the town and all, I like to know what got people interested in what they do. And I asked this question for a couple reasons. Number one, I'm a giant nerd, and nerds love a good origin story. And secondly, I like to know what makes people tick. Why do you do what you do? What's the flame behind that inspires you to keep going and things like that? So in the story of Dave Cain, what's got you here, man? What made you say, I want to be a writer?
Oh, yeah. So I like to start off by just telling people like, I grew up in the forest and I ran around and hit trees with sticks. Like I was that kid who was just like, aha, you're just out in the forest, like having these
Mm-hmm.
sort of adventures. And there was a point where we started stealing our parents' video camera, and then those things took on making movies. You know, that little pretend zone took on making movies, and those movies became more and more ridiculous and uh more and more epic, you know, costumes. And now we're learning about how to do effects and all kinds of editing, like with 2 VCRs or something along those lines.
Nice.
And yeah, that was, and the other thing too is that if you were a kid at that point who wanted to make a movie, like you could turn that in for a grade and get an
Oh
A
yeah.
because they were just like amazed that you were like, "Oh, instead of doing this project, can I make a movie?" So I turned in so many movies for projects in like 8th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, all the way through. Yeah.
Very cool.
And so yeah, it was very much like me and my friends and my brother and my sister out there like making stuff in the forest, you know. And then once I, you know, once I realized I was like, oh yeah, I can do this as a career. I think this is something that a lot of people who make stuff nowadays can relate with, is like I was doing it all and I didn't know
Right.
which aspect was like, oh, I have to pick a lane now. Um, and so I tried out a bunch of different avenues and really found that like the writing part was a part that nourished me the most creatively.
Nice.
And I do like also doing all the other things. I like producing, I like directing, I like, yeah, I I would love to be a wardrobe assistant and just be on set just steaming clothes. That'd be amazing. Anybody needs a wardrobe assistant, I'm there. I'd love that. But
There you go.
but yeah, no, it was um sort of like building what I call the treasure map of the show. Like the script is the
Mm-hmm.
treasure map of the show. And it made it, you know, I just connected with that space really closely. And that's sort of where how I ended up in that trajectory. And then kind of your second part of that question was like the why, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think when I started when I graduated from college, I was like my what I wanted to do was so connected to my like inner child from being that kid out in the forest, just like discovering creativity, that it made sense that it was like, oh, let's do that like as much as we possibly can. And I loved cartoons. I never grew out of
Nice.
cartoons. Loved big Henson fan, big like Muppets fan and all that world.
Absolutely.
And just thinking, oh, this is a fun space. You know, this is a great, cool space to be in and a way to define myself as like, oh, this is the area that I want to be in. Um, and kind of nowadays, I realize, sorry if I'm going too far on
No, no,
this,
I love it.
but
You're good. Keep going, man.
okay. So nowadays, something that I think about is that when you're doing content for kids, when you're writing content for kids, sometimes that's the first time that a kid has been introduced to that concept or that thing, like a giraffe or
Oh
something,
yeah.
you know.
Sure.
And it's like it's a very cool responsibility. Like you got to get it right because you're like, oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
this is the first time that a kid's um, ever gonna see this, or that it's so important that this could shape the way a kid thinks. Like, so you got to get it right, and it's a cool responsibility. It's a cool thing to have serious conversations about very
Yeah.
silly things, you know. Yeah. Yeah.
I dig that.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So I have to ask this, because now I know that you were out running in the woods, banging on trees with sticks, because that was something me and my friends did as well. Because we just didn't involve the video camera. Now I kind of wish we would have, because we have very good memories of that time, but I think each of us remembers the incidences quite differently, and I'd like to replay a couple of those for my buddies. But is there a movie that you made out of that time frame where you were like so very particularly proud of, like you're like, oh man, look what I did?
Ooh, there were so many good ones. Um, and there were good ones that like other people were making too, because it's infectious,
Sure.
and like it was fun to, then you're an actor in somebody else's film, or you're holding the camera in this film. Um, there were there was one called Dave's House of Biology that was clearly for
Okay.
biology class, but it was that a bunch of friends came over. Um, a bunch of friends came over to my house. They'd never been to my house before, and they knew that I was obsessed with science. And when they came to my house, um, they had to learn about science or they couldn't leave. And the house was
Nice.
like every room was some sort of different like thing about science. Like you learn about in this room, you learn about the kingdoms of different, plants and animals, and
Hmm.
in this room you learn about overpopulation because this room everything it was sort of a like a Willy Wonka's factory
Awesome.
crazy space where everybody had to learn about biology to be able to escape. Yeah, they were trapped there,
All right.
yeah, we made that one. We made a sequel and then a prequel. Made a whole trilogy of Dave's House of Biology movies. Yeah, they were
Very
so
cool.
much
All
fun.
right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to ask you this question now, because this is something that I've asked other folks who have. I talked with Kif Van den Heuvel. He's a voice actor from the Grand Rapids area,
Oh, fun.
and yeah, and he's been on some really cool stuff. And I asked it of him, and I asked it of a couple other folks that have been in Michigan and grew up in Michigan, um, and like Danny Diet. She's from the Battle Creek area, actress, really cool. Anyway, so I told you all that so I could ask you this, because I've asked this of several other Michigan-based guests, but never of another Noegoite. So this is a first. How has growing up in Michigan with Midwest sensibilities, particularly Newego, uh, affected your outlook and then choices in projects?
Ooh, interesting. Affected my outlook and choices in projects. Well, I'm very tied to nature in the projects, and I think that's one of the most magical things about Michigan is just all the beautiful nature that we have all
Mm-hmm.
over the place. Every Yeah, there's just so much wonderful, you know, the Quamanon Falls and Traverse City and the Sleeping Bear Dunes and all these like amazing just the
Yeah.
lakes in general. Like it's a weird, interesting, fascinating state from for going outside in. Um, and uh,
Sure.
and then I've always had this sensibility of, well, let's just do the thing, let's just we'll just start doing the thing and then see where it goes. And I feel like that to me feels very like Michigan has like a has like that like auto factory sort of
Oh yeah.
like vibe of just being like let's go, let's do it, let's do stuff.
Yeah.
uh
Worker
I don't know,
mentality.
worker mentality, yeah, exactly. Like and that I think that might be something that is an inherent sort of Michigan thing. And plus,
Okay.
we got that Midwestern just nice vibe that
Right.
that sort of kind Midwestern thing going on that permeates everything that I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you find that when you moved out to LA and working with the subsets of Hollywood that you were sprinkling in and out of to produce these shows, write these shows, direct these shows, did you ever find that there were um, sensibility or let's just say a morality clashes between what you grew up knowing, and if so, how did you combat that?
Oh, there's one thing. So I always remember this. One of the first things that I was like a production assistant on out here. I tend to smile constantly, and
That's fun.
and there was a guy. He was like a grip or something, crabby grip, who
Mhm.
said, "You're new, right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, how do you know?" He's like, "Because you're still smiling." And in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm going to keep being happy to spite this guy, like like, yeah, what a crazy thing to say. I'm not and I know like there's definitely like times get very hard in the industry and it's very frustrating, and there's so many times that it's a very frustrating thing, but I try to keep this kind of like positivity and keep understanding like what we're doing is fun and exciting and important and all those elements. So I try to keep myself positive in those sorts of ways. That I think comes from being that Midwesterner, you know.
No, it's a great answer, and yeah, I think that that's kind of inherent in the mentality, the personalities of people that I know that have grown up around here and are around here, and more so West Michigan than the east side of the state. There's some grumpy kids on the east side of the state. Uh, wow. I mean, there's some cool people over there. I know some really cool folks, but there just seems to be a whole heckin' lot of less stress over here in West Michigan. So that's one of the reasons I lived over and worked in the Flint area for a few years, and I could not get out of that fast enough. Whew.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
My
was
d
awful.
my dad worked in Flint before he
Yeah,
worked in, Newaygo. Well, he worked in Flint, then Baldwin, then Newaygo. We're turning
okay,
this into the Ken Kane podcast, but
exactly.
yeah, but
So, kids, he started over here, then he went to
yep,
here, came down here.
exactly. Now we're from here.
Exactly.
I wanna make sure I'm not flipped on your screen. I'm not doing it backwards, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun that way. But yeah, I think that that's definitely a big part of it is that I find that folks who are from the West Michigan area are typically a little more happy-go-lucky. I mean, we have some Krabby Patties walking amongst us. We won't deny that. But we've got a pretty good stock of folk over here. Um, but yeah, that's kind of interesting to me. That
Yeah.
one of the things that somebody else had mentioned is that you had mentioned the worker mentality and when I talked with Tiff Vandenhoevel, one of the things he mentioned was that for him it was the idea of service, that we in West Michigan we grow up with the idea of serving one another, assisting one another, helping one another. He says, talked about how that had carried through. So I'm always interested to see what different Michiganders take is on that and how that's affected them. So that's all right. Very cool.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
All right. I have yet another Nuevo question because I just had so many, and I was like, no, we have to talk about other things eventually. But before we do
Oh, no,
that,
we could go all the way go
he's
the
like, we'll
rest
go all
of
Nuevo. It's
just,
fine.
like, lose anyone who doesn't know what we're doing.
We'll have all 3 listeners join us next time.
Yep, yep. Did
All right.
you
So for
know
me, exactly.
Oh, wait, I got a Nuevo trivia thing for
Okay.
you that is
Run
also
it.
pop culture trivia. Do you
Okay.
know that neither of us are the most famous pop culture person to come out of Nuevo? There's someone who won an Academy Award from Nuevo.
Really?
Do you know? Have you ever heard of
No,
this?
no, I have zero clue.
Yeah, there's a guy named Jack Nietzsche
Okay.
who he's old like 60s music producer who won best song because he wrote love lifts us up where we belong, you know that
No
like
kidding.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Jack Nietzsche,
Wow.
Noegan.
Noegite. Yeah, we'll go with you. All
Yeah,
right. Way to go,
yeah,
Jack. All right.
yeah.
I had no clue.
If Jack was still alive, you should have Jack on the podcast.
It's gonna be a little difficult now, but yeah.
Yep. Yep.
That's a very cool fun fact. I love that. All right.
Sorry, but I derailed what you were gonna say next.
No, not at all. You're great, and I adore the fact that you're like I have some level of popularity or famousness. That's very cute. All right, so all right, so one of the mainstays for me anyway here in Newaygo has always been the River Stop Cafe right downtown Newaygo, Michigan.
Dude,
Absolutely
yeah.
love the River Stop. My wife and I, when we were dating, that's where we decided where we were going to get serious and move forward, and that's been a very big part of our life. And we have friends come in, that's where one of the places we take them. So I have my standards of things that I like to get when I go there. When you come back to our little spot in the woods here, is there a place like that, or even if it is that place, is there some place that you like to visit? And if so, what's your order?
Oh, well, my order at the River Stop is the Thanksgiving twist is my go-to.
Oh, yeah.
There. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was always and then I used to love to have a brown trout as a drink. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
No, that's a great place. That's a great place. Do you remember when
Absolutely.
it was across the street?
That's where my wife and
shed?
I, when we were dating, it was across the street of that little shack. Yeah. They had like 3 tables in there, and if if the tables were full and you wanted to get a drink, you had to like stand there, like you're behind, almost touching the person in the seat. And you're like, yeah, sorry, there's nowhere for me to go.
Yeah, it is such a small little space that started in. Now it's like, is it still like that the yarn barn? For a while there, it was like strictly a yarn store.
Yeah, now it's called the New U or something like that.
Oh, the New U, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yarn Barn would also have been an acceptable name for them. If they open another one, that's what I was thinking about. They need to go with the Yarn Barn. But yeah, so yeah, it's across the street now. And it has been for a few years, but it's still one of my favorite places.
It's so good. It's so good. So my wife actually, I like being at my parents' house so much that my wife is like, show me the rest of Michigan. When we come here, we just hang out there. And I'm like, yes, we will get to the rest of Michigan, but
fine.
We grew up on a lake. I just want to hang out at the lake all day.
Oh, for sure. It's relaxing.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful lake. Such a beautiful lake. Yeah. And when we were younger, there were there was like a sunken barge. Mm-hmm. Do you ever remember this?
It's still kind of there. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also, because there's that dock that's sunken. Mm-hmm. There's just great mystery in that lake.
Yeah.
That fuels imagination. Because there was a hotel on that lake that then it burned down, and now there's like remnants of that hotel.
Yeah.
Very cool. Hanging out there, Turtle Island,
yeah,
man. When we were kids, we would canoe all the way over to Pickerel Lake because there was that campgrounds there that they had a general store with candy.
Yeah.
Do you know what do you know what the name of that place
Little
is?
Switzerland.
Little Switzerland. Yes. Oh, yeah. We grew up in such a magical, weird place that I tend to just want to hang out at my parents' house, but
It's kind of funny. So when I was a kid, my one of my buddies, his mom and dad and his grandmother owned like 150 acres down by the Little Muskegon River.
mm,
And so we had this island down there in the middle of the Little Muskegon River that we called Terabithia. We knocked over some trees. That was our bridge to Terabithia.
Terabithia.
Exactly. And we would go camping out there. We were going out with our big group of friends. We all go down camp out there, and we didn't realize it, but we were doing these big elaborate stories. And I'm like, and now I look back, I'm like, we were like LARPing and didn't realize it, because we were doing all these big elaborate stories, and yeah, we were, crabapple fights and BB
It's
gun
great.
fights, and
Ah,
all the
and it's
all the
so
things that were
fun.
completely unsafe.
Yep, yep, yep. It's so
So
fun,
grateful there was no social media back then.
right? Right. I think there is a world we're not there in this generation. Maybe there's a world in the future where there's something that are like digital entertainment and are like go outside and go adventure are merged in some sort of interesting way. Because
Yeah.
I just feel like something about being the kid with the video camera in the forest. We like broke two of my parents' video cameras, and by like taking them out in the rain,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, because it was cinematic. Yeah, totally. And then after that, like they broke in a weird way where they had these like weird streaks inside the picture that were really interesting. But like there's something that I don't have this totally figured out, this futuristic sort of thing. No.
We'll
But
get there in time.
I just think that there's some way to that it's not just anti-screen go outside, that it can be both in some sort of way.
Merge them
Uh,
together. Yeah.
yeah, there's some sort of merged type of entertainment that brings us that kind of joy that we're talking about, that we're so nostalgic for in
Right. Yeah.
in some sort of new way. That'll be cool.
All right.
Hopefully we will see it by the time we're old, crusty men.
Well, I'm already old. Bring on the crusty. So, all right. So, or at least that's just my knees talking to me, telling me that I'm old. But all right. So, Dave, let's talk about your particular writing style for when you're working on the shows that you work for, and let's talk about your process. And so now, for
Okay.
some writers, they like to build the world first and then develop character and story. Some say they can't build a world without knowing the characters. So, do you have a process that you like or method that you like to write by, or does that vary from project to project?
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. I would say that I do, but also it does vary project to project. One thing that was super helpful for me in I think that a writer really needs to have their perspective and know what their perspective is and know what kind of style they bring to something. Especially nowadays, because we we're not just human typewriters. We have to like know why we're in the room, and you have to know why they chose you for that project or why you're
Mhm.
telling that story. And so it takes time to figure that out. And one thing that helped me a lot figure that out was doing sketch comedy. I would
Okay.
do I would do a live sketch comedy show every single month for 5 years. Like I was writing, and I was writing my screenplays, and I was doing these I was pursuing writing. But when I started doing that, that got so that I was experimenting and understanding my process, understanding what I bring to the table, and getting immediate feedback. One of the great things is like you get a couple of actors, you put something on stage, you hear the laughs or you don't hear the laughs, you hear the timing, and you get that immediate feedback.
Okay.
And so that was super helpful. And it also taught me that sometimes you go, okay, I wrote this script this way. That's my process. And then the next thing you write the process is completely different. And you go, okay, I wrote this script this way and I wrote that one. So those two things are my process. And then you do another one and it turns out the process was completely different on that one. But I would say that, yeah, like once you get those sort of muscles figured out, like once you get those muscles figured out, oh, now I've lost my train of thought here. I was saying, yeah, I'm lost in my writer brain. It is
That's all right.
a process of just trying to entertain myself and trying to understand like what's going to get some feedback and what's going to surprise me and things like that. And so I will generally start character forward, but I might start
Okay.
with something. I might start with something that's just like an inkling. Like I've got this project that I've been working on for a while called Outdoor Ed. He's a 20-foot tall mountain man who lives in the forest, and he's trying to make a kids show with his animal friends. None of them know anything about how to make a kids show, but they all try their best. And at the end, they have fun with it. It's a very Dave show. It's a very, very Dave show.
Tracking this. Okay.
But one of the things is years ago, I was working with an audio guy who was a boom operator, and he's like 7 feet tall. And he always had like sage wisdom. And one day he was like, everybody's been small, but not everybody's been tall. And I was like, that's a great line. That's crazy because everybody has. And then at some point you got a character that like we don't have a visual perspective with anymore. The person who grows tall has this perspective that none of us have actually experienced. I was like, man. And so like that was probably 7 years ago. And I just wrote that down and had that little nugget tucked in the back of my brain. Nice. And was like, there's something. I don't know what it is. There's a lot of things that I have like that are like, I don't know what this is, but this is something. And I latch onto that. And then with that one, I like using this one as an example because we've sort of gotten into this. With that one, somebody was like, I had been working on a bunch of host-driven shows. I had been working for Nickelodeon on their Noggin host-driven shows. I had been working for Blippi, which a lot of the parents with very young kids will probably know.
Very familiar.
I apologize if you've had to listen to a Blippi song 1,000 times. Like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I know. Yeah, thank you for your service, but I was doing a lot of those shows, and then my manager was like, you got to do something about just like a dude who lives in the woods, like one of those shows, but it's a dude that lives in the woods. And I was like, well, okay, great framework, right? Great assignment. But then I was like, what is the inspiration behind this? Because if you say, hey, here's a kid's show about a dude who lives in the woods, people think, oh, the Unabomber, or like some wild man who lives in the forest, And
all then, right, kids, we're gonna learn how to make pipe bombs today.
right. And then people will be like, thank you. Please never come back to PBS. Like,
and we're done.
And we're done here. Don't call Dave ever again. So I had this assignment basically, and then that nugget like struck me as making sense in this assignment, and then I was like, oh, if
yeah.
he's a forest giant, then that makes sense, that
Yeah.
then you don't feel like it's a strange interaction. It's in this fantasy world, and it's this really like fun and
Mhm.
kooky and weird interaction. And so then that brings it more into this. It brings it into a zone where you understand the story and how the story comes together, and it kind of builds out from there. But yeah,
Right.
I hope that was
No, I like that. That's a
that
great
kind of
answer.
illustrates my process.
No, I like it. That was a great answer. All right.
Cool.
Let's ask you this one now. So I'm a big fan of throwing things out into the universe, just to see what happens, because you never know.
Mhm.
So for you, what's a project or fictional universe that you have not worked in that you would love to be part of? I'll give you my for instance, and then let you answer. So for me, everything in my life revolves very much around Star Wars. I'm a massive Star Wars fan. Also wearing a Star Wars shirt right now, but that's not the point.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if I could have my name somewhere on a byline on a show credit, it could say that I fetched a bottle of water, I sharpened a pencil for somebody. I don't care, but if my name was ever up there, that would be the dream. So for you, what's a universe or a project that you would love to have your name attached to some way, somehow?
Oh my gosh. I might go a little niche on this.
Go for it,
Um,
man.
but it's Jim Henson made something called the Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Hmm.
Have you ever seen that?
Hmm.
You've seen this one. Okay, good. Yes, yes. So I love Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and I think that it's a universe. It's only a half hour, but everything is so lived in that world. And the music is so amazing, and the puppets are so amazing, and that whole
Hmm.
space. I absolutely adore Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and just the way
Nice.
the characters interact in that. They have such they have such familiarity that I'm like, oh, there's a whole story over there. That's what I like about like that's what gets me excited in universes, like in some sort of universe type thing, is when there's some element in the background that makes you go, oh, I want to know more about that. When you can keep your
Right. Yeah.
universe abstract enough that there's always like some sort of like partially open door that you're like, oh, I wish I could just see around that. I think that's one of the things. I also love Star Wars a lot, and I think that's one of the things that's really magical about Star Wars is that there'll be some dude in the background and you're like, what is his
What about
story?
him? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Like you go to the cantina and every one of those guys now has a, a
There's a whole
backstory and a
story.
lore,
Yeah.
because everybody felt that when they saw those
Mhm.
characters and they were like, I
Oh,
need to
yeah.
know about him. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm loving all these stories that they're coming up with Star Wars lately, and I always say that, the best answer for Star Wars is more Star Wars. Because Star Wars ask all these questions, and the only way to answer those is to have more Star Wars so that we can repeat this cycle over and over again. But,
There you go.
yeah. All right, Dave, you have performed admirably. I'll get it right one of these days. But anyway, yeah, you've performed admirably today, and you've answered all of my questions very well. But it is time for a silly question.
Mhm.
Now, the premise to this silly question is A, not all that silly, and B, neither is the question. But we like to call a silly question all the same. So, team member over here, Kathleen, was out and about with her daughter, and somebody asked her daughter this question, but not her. And Kathleen was like, well, that's very rude. You should never age out of this question. So, being big into science and the outdoorsy stuff, Dave Cain, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Let me see. I know I have like my go-to,
Okay.
but I also want to think about. I also want to think about like what's one that has. Okay, so my go-to is always Triceratops. Just love Triceratops.
Yes.
Man, yeah, so good. The
Yes.
three
Very much.
horns. The
Yes.
name is perfect. Yeah. Ah, like you get him. You get him. Um,
Yeah.
and then who's a dinosaur that I've been thinking about lately? Just somebody who I'm like, yeah, well, what's up with him? I finally actually read Jurassic Park. The like I had like tried to read it in the fifth
Yeah. The Crichton
grade
novel.
when it was
Yeah.
a little bit too much for me, and then realized I got to go back. I got to read Jurassic Park, um, and the little compies were very interesting. That was
Hmm.
fun. The little tiny dinosaurs, and just
Oh,
getting into like what makes them different from a modern day lizard. What makes them a dinosaur versus a lizard? Yeah, yeah. But
okay.
Triceratops is my boy.
I'm right there with you.
Mhm.
Long standing. Because I've said this before on other podcasts. I'm a big fan of rhinos as well, and as far as I'm concerned, the rhinos are a modern day dinosaur. They're amazing.
Oh,
Um,
totally.
I think rhinos are just so stinking cool. Um, but when I was little, I was like, "Ooh, rhinos are really cool," and then I was like, "Ho, triple rhino,"
Yeah.
because three horns. So yeah, my fascination with Triceratops just kind of grew out of that. But and then there was the whole crying over Land Before Time, but we're not going to get into that today because I don't want to cry. Uh, there's a whole level of 90s kid trauma over that.
Yes.
So late
Yes.
80s, early 90s, there was definitely some trauma
Mhm.
instilled by Land Before Time. So, all
So
right,
good.
Dave, thank you for so much for being on Pop Culture Addicts today. Where can our listeners and viewers go to find out more about you, your work, and anything you've got coming up?
Oh man. Let's see. So I'll give you some stuff. Hit me up on Instagram at Best Dave Cain, or any social media platform. It's all Best Dave Cain. And then I host a cartoon mixer in Los Angeles and hopefully other places, and actually at San Diego Comic-Con this year.
Oh, cool.
So hit up the Mixie Cartoon Mixer. That's Mixie Mixie Cartoon Mixer. If you're at Comic Con, come stop by the Mixer. I don't know when it's going to be yet, but follow us on social media, and you'll be able to uh, do any of that. What else do I have going on? Oh, um, I right now I'm very excited about I'm I'm story editing Strawberry Shortcake, the
Okay.
whole Strawberry Shortcake reboot of everything. So writing that, and that's very exciting. I don't know, follow Strawberry Shortcake because she's great. She's fantastic. And if you like kid podcasts, check out The Happiest Animal Show, which is a podcast that I produce with some other Michigan friends, where we talk to kids and comedians and scientists about animals. So
Oh, very
check
cool.
that one out. Yeah, yeah,
All right. Will
yeah.
do.
And I keep going, but I think we'll cap it at 3.
All right. Well, I will make sure that we put links and information down below so people can follow the Mixie Cartoon Mixer and the kids podcast, and we'll put out an Instagram handle for you so people can follow you down there. So that'll be great.
Awesome.
Perfect. All right, guys. This seems like a prime time to remind you that if you haven't already, there should be a little button popping up on the screen right about now, because I'm doing the editing, so it'll pop up then. But anyway, this seems like a prime time reminder that if you haven't already clicked to follow, aka subscribe to our YouTube channel, now it seems like a good time to do that. If you'd click like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, it helps us out tremendously, helps us get more amazing guests like fellow Nuegoite or Noggin, however you like to say it, Dave Cain here today to enjoy and have some fun conversations and great things for you to be able to listen to. Plus, it's free. It costs you exactly 0 pesos, dinero, or even pennies, which are now, a thing of the past. So please subscribe. It helps us out more than I'll ever be able to let you know, and be able to be sure to check out Dave's work as well. There'll be plenty of links down below. So on behalf of Dave Cain, on behalf of the thriving metropolis of Newaygo, Michigan, and Pop Culture Addicts, thank you for watching and or listening, and may the force be with you as you continue to live long and prosper. Goodbye. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Pop Culture Addicts. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@pcapod.com.